again, all from a 20% role.
Wow, I didn't know it's part of these projects. I always hear about it, and it sounds to me like, yeah, they can have some fun as part as the benefits of going to Google. I didn't think about Gmail as one of these like benefits. So it's really interesting to see that it's growing. And do you feel that people are using like it's mostly type of developers doing that, or type of roles or teams doing that, or everyone is doing that?
Well, not everyone. I actually think that there's a lot of people who love their job and they just want to dedicate 100% of their time to their job.
Right.
Great. Awesome. Keep doing it. But I do think that there's also some individuals who have ideas and they want to explore them, whether they're technical or not. Actually, I have a podcast at Google called That Digital Show. That Digital Show, my podcast, is a 20% project.
Ah,
And so I
wow.
spend 20% of my time dedicated to developing podcast content and talking with customers and individuals like you about what we're doing at
Mhm.
Google. And
Wow.
that's fabulous because it's something that I'm passionate in. It's something that I enjoy. And so I get to dedicate some of my time during the day to the things that I enjoy doing, in addition to my regular full-time job, which I love doing as well. So
Yeah.
it's a win-win for sure.
And do you have like in innovation, do you have parts which is like an accelerator, and part which is like the daily job, micromanagement or enhancement, or how do you divide the innovation within this very big organization?
Yeah, there is a mechanism by which we want to understand if what we are doing is successful or not.
Right.
We have to measure the work in some capacity. And it's different across all of those ideas. For example, with my podcast, we measure success based on how many listeners we have. If we have a lot of listeners, then we're doing well. If we weren't getting a lot of listeners, then we might argue that maybe we shouldn't be working on the podcast, right? It's no different than any type of business. You open up a business, you're an entrepreneur, you start a new idea. Do you get sales? If you don't, then you might have to
Mhm.
rethink your strategy. If you're getting a lot of sales, yeah, we're doing great. We keep going. So
Yeah.
the metrics of these ideas is critical, and it ultimately leads to data and understanding what the data is telling us. And so sometimes it may not be sales. For example, in new businesses, a startup business might not have a lot of sales for the first year, but they can demonstrate growth through other vehicles, whether that's a growing database of customer references, or whether that's a newsletter that you're generating that is increasing in size. Like, there's other things that we can look at to determine if something is successful as opposed to just sales. But all of that is rooted in data. And you
Right.
have to look at the data. One, you have to capture the data. Two, you have to actually analyze the data to understand what's happening. And then three, you actually have to act upon the data. If it's good data or bad data, you can't
Yeah.
manipulate it. You can't just change the data because you're like, I don't like what that says. I'm going to change this so it looks better. It doesn't help, right? So we have
Yeah.
to actually look at the data, analyze it, and then take action on that data to further whatever we're trying to work on or innovate around.
Yeah. So it's like taking what you know from customer centered business in general, and taking that into the innovation initiative, and saying like we're treating the customer, it could be internal, external, just the same as we're treating our customers for our products.
Yeah, for me, if we think about a customer could be anyone. It could be you and I. A customer is somebody who's engaged with us in some way, whether you want to call them a user or a customer or a consumer or fill in the blank. It's all the same thing. I'm doing something for somebody else and they're coming back to me. That individual can be internal, external. It could be a partner. It really is anyway. It's you and I, right?
Right.
Technically, you are the podcast host. I am the guest. I am your customer, if you wanted
Right.
to look at it in that
Yeah.
capacity. So
And we
because of
have
that,
listeners.
yeah, and you have listeners, right?
Yeah.
We could play the entire B to B to C, or B to
Right.
C type of scenario into this. All of those things matter because as you are coming up with ideas, as you're trying to innovate, as you're trying to solve a problem for your listeners, for your consumers, for your customer, your user, you need to understand what they want. And then once again, it goes back to the data. Listen to what they want, bring that data in, and allow that data to influence how you progress, how you iterate, how you move forward in your products and services and ideas.
Yeah. So taking the understanding from a customer, or in that case, a listener, or somebody who's interested in your services, and it could be someone internal. So if you're solving something for yourself or for the team, they're like your customers to what you're doing. And it's really interesting to see that it's the same way of thinking, as in if it's like a startup, but it's internal. It's something that you create or something that is customer facing. It doesn't matter.
That's right. Yeah.